Again, thank you all for being here. Just to wrap up, in addition to everything that we talked about affordability-wise and where I started out, I can take this off while I'm speaking rather than hyperventilate. Where I started out on the tragedy in New York City over the weekend with the loss of life of a police officer, one in critical condition. That impacts the quality of life in New York State. The crime that we have to get back under control, law and order in this state. The criminals are running amok with the coddling they've gotten from the majorities of this legislature over the last 3 years. We need to turn that tide back to law and order so the citizens of New York State feel safe. So the businesses in New York, particularly in New York City, high wealth businesses, so they feel safe coming and going to work. One more reason for them to relocate out of New York is a major concern with this. And the climate actions that Senator Steck talked about and I spoke about a little bit, to deal with global emissions out of New York State of 0.4%. We've led the way in New York State in lowering emissions from our electricity generation in many areas of the activities of the state. The Climate Action Council and some of the proposals in there are going to drastically raise the cost of living in New York State. For what? If we're perfect and get to zero, what impact on global climate change, which it's the global climate that affects our climate here in New York State, not our microclimate that we can have some little impact on here in New York. It's the global climate that these actions will have nothing to do. So the question that keeps getting asked is, well, what's the cost if we don't do it? The societal cost that you can't put a price on. It's like the old MasterCard or Visa commercials. It's priceless. And it is. And New York has been leading the way on these advancements, and we should continue to. We're supportive of our efforts of moving forward to lower emissions in New York State. Our transportation sector, our energy sector, our buildings and homes sector. But we can't afford to do it at such a breakneck pace that we devastate our economy in New York State for an effort that the question we should be asking, if we do it all, what will the benefit to New Yorkers be? And in tackling 0.4% of emissions globally, the overall benefit on climate change to New Yorkers of those actions will be nothing, and it won't change our climate here in New York until the other major contributors around the globe get in line and start doing some of the things that we are leading the way on in New York. And we should continue those efforts in a reasonable and rational fashion because it's the right thing to do, but not at the cost of devastating our economy. These all go to the affordability and the opportunity for New Yorkers in New York State, which is leading to the exodus of New Yorkers from New York. And it's why we're here today talking about how to end the exodus of New Yorkers from our great state. Thank you.